Welcome to another CAS Worldwide podcast. My name is Jamie Austin, and today we're going to be talking with Chris Paolucci of Tipalti. Chris, you are the Alliance Manager for the Mid-Market U.S. So welcome, and I'm going to ask you the first question right off, and that is, based on your title, does that mean Tipalti is a multinational company?
Well, first, thanks for having me. Let's start there. But yes, it is a U.S. title, and we are a global company.
Fantastic. So does that mean that you make payments in all different currencies?
We do. So we make payments in 120 currencies in over 190 countries. So we have the ability to do, payments into Great British pounds from Chinese yen or U.S. dollars into Great British pounds. So we have the flexibility within those currencies to pay into and out of all of those currencies.
Can I pay multiple countries at one time in multiple currencies?
Absolutely. So if you wanted to make a bulk payment into 20 vendors that located in 20 different countries at the same time, we have the capability of doing so.
Pretty cool. All right. Let's start with a couple of interesting things. We're talking about the Great Resignation and the fact that people are leaving work, retiring at an astounding rate. Does that mean, or are you trying to tell me that automated payables is the solution in the accounting department?
Never. Automation is not always the solution, but it's the tool to help you get to a place where it can be the solution for everything. We're always going to need a human element within a payables process or any process within any organization. There's always going to be human touch, and we help make those people more efficient at their existing jobs. So as we lose people, you can maintain headcount or hire on newer people to expand what they're already doing well and make them even better to do 4x of what they're doing.
All right, so I'm a $100 million company, and I got, I don't know, let's say I'm efficient. I got 2 people in my accounting department that just handle payables, and I'm going to grow because we are on the cusp of some greatness. I'm going to go from 100 million to 500 million in the next 36 months, maybe even less. Are you going to be able to handle that, or am I going to have to double my accounts payable department?
No, you can absolutely handle that. The whole point of Tipalti is to be able to scale as you grow. We've worked with startups that scale rapidly and are now public companies. Twitter is one of those organizations. We were founded in 2010, and Twitter signed on with us in about 2011, 2012, and they've grown with us as they've grown themselves. So we are built to scale, and we are able to help you maintain headcount, or if you want to expand headcount and just make those people more efficient, you have the capability and flexibility of doing both.
Talking about Twitter, I'm guessing they, like many companies, they think about people are working remotely these days. My son actually was an accounts payable person for a long time, and accounts receivable, accounts payable, and he had to go into the office like once every week or two during the pandemic to deposit checks. Do people want to get checks anymore? I mean, if I'm working from home, the checks are in the office. How is that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So there's plenty of businesses that are working remote. There's plenty of businesses that are still maintaining an in-office environment solely based on their business, and they have to be there. So having the ability to cut checks, yes, it's going down, but we still have the capability to cut checks for vendors through our system. But with a solution like Tipalti and having the ability to have people work remotely also gives these organizations a way to be more transparent and have better visibility into the whole accounts payable process. So if you have Bill, who's the controller, and Susan, who's the AP manager, and they're both in separate cities, they can see everything at the same time in real time. You can have an approval workflow that's based on their permissions and how they've built their approval process internally. So a system like Tipalti is great for remote environments, but it's also great for in-person environments too.
I like that. But I don't even have checks. I have a checkbook. I haven't. I mean, my mother says, "What do you mean you haven't reconciled your checkbook in 15 years?" Because I say I do all my banking online, and so
Mhm.
if I do it online, they have it. So, does anybody want to get a check?
Most
Or actually, let me
people,
rephrase that. Well, let me rephrase that before you answer. Is what's the alternative to getting a check?
well, that great question. So yes, people still want to receive check, but those are the businesses and organizations that are still very much reliant on the old school ways of doing things, getting your payables out of the 1970s as an ad we've ran before. Uh, we help
Took the
organizations with that.
words right out of my mouth. Oh man, I was going to use that one too. But good job. I like that.
Exactly. So people are still operating out of Excel sheets. People still operate out of, just basic pen and paper and checkbooks and balancing their books that way because that's all they know. A lot of people don't know that there's tools out there that can make them more efficient to give them an easier time at managing the mundane processes of their day-to-day AP department. Um, so we allow organizations to not just receive paper checks, but those organizations are starting to move away from it because they want to get paid now. They want to get paid quicker. They want to see the accounts receivable side of their business growing faster than their AP side, obviously, with any business. So we do have the option to do ACH payments. We have the option to do wire payments. We can do prepaid business debit card. We're releasing credit card later this year. We also have the ability to do PayPal. So there's quite a few ways to make payments to these different businesses and companies or to your vendor suppliers or even 1099 workers. And let's say you have a bunch of contracted workers for your business, then you want to make payments to them for their services. We have the capability to make all sorts of different types of payments.
There you go, Mom. Got that one. Um, you talk about the accounts payable. So I think about I get a bill. It's got to go through the process. It goes to the person who ordered it. They have to sign off that they received the materials. It then goes to the accounting department. They got to match it up against well, if they use a purchase order, then they would have gone to get patched against that. And you talk about you have this thing called three-way PO matching.
Mhm.
Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, I absolutely. So on average, a Tipalti customer is reducing their workload in the AP department by 80%, which is huge time savings and cost savings altogether, both, real cost to the dollar and both in intangible dollars. So we have the capability to reduce that workload, but one of those key components is if you do have purchase orders that need to be matched up to the invoice, that need to be matched up to the final receipt, our system can ingest that information and flag the ones that actually have errors. So you're not spending the time to look at each one individually. Let's say you had 100 invoices a month. That's a lot of time to look at three different pieces of paper. That's 300 pieces of paper you're now looking at to trying to figure out if it's matching. Or if you're doing it on your computer screen and you're trying to match it up on three different monitors and say, all right, this matches, this matches, this matches, our system will automatically flag the things that are wrong and alert you to those. And then you can go back and adjust those errors or reach out to the vendor to fix something or to get your money back, or if they undercharged you, whatever it might be. We have the capability so you know what's going on and have that better visibility all along the way of the payable.
Pretty cool. And then, well, you said the other day we were talking, and you mentioned that when you set up a bill to be paid,
Mhm.
the vendor can actually see that. They can see it, be it pending, or they can see that, I'll call it, the check was cut. That just shows our age. I guess it would be the payment was processed.
Yes.
Is that so? The vendors can see what's going on.
This is one of the better parts of the Tipalti platform is prior to the payment, right? We built this whole solution prior to the payment. We have a supplier vendor onboarding portal. And what that means is you're looking to get paid by company A. They send you this invitation to sign up in this portal. That portal gives you access into viewing all the invoices you send to your client, so that you can track when that payment is going to be made or where it is in the payment cycle on that customer's end. So they'll log in, they'll submit their company information, they'll submit their payment information, how they want to be paid, based on those payment methods I discussed earlier. And then once they start submitting those invoices, they'll be able to submit their tax information on that upfront. And we're capturing all that on the upfront so that you are not chasing down that information from your vendors and suppliers later when it's time to now reconcile or do your taxes. So now we're saving you time during tax time from having to go back a year, figure out where these payments were made and getting the tax information from businesses who performed a service for you or provided goods. And then at the same time, if that business went out of business, how are you going to chase down their tax information, right? So you'll have all that on the upfront. We're collecting the W-9s, we're collecting the W-8s. We do TINs from 50 different countries. And then on the back end, we'll create that prep report for you. And we partner with a company called Tax 1099 so that you can push that information into Tax 1099 and then reconcile it that way to file your taxes. So and that information was built through our partner at KPMG on the upfront and the user interface. So you're getting the right information. Let's say you had a vendor in Florida and a vendor in Tennessee. The tax information is going to be different. So those fields will be different as it's set up in the front.
So you're like an AP ATM. You're giving the vendor in this portal the ability to onboard themselves, upload their tax information, and determine their form of payment. So it's not like you're pushing out, you're not forcing them to take a check or an ACH or a PayPal. They're choosing how they want to get paid, and they can actually see it going through the system. So I guess the old expression, I'm going to go back to your 1970s. So I guess we're not going to be able to use the check is in the mail excuse anymore?
Correct. I mean, you could, if their check is still an option, we will cut a check for those vendors, but it'll be in the mail, but they'll at least know when it was sent out through that portal.
And then they'll call you every day and say, well, I haven't gotten it yet. I haven't gotten it yet. And now you start blaming it on the U.S. Postal Service.
Right.
There's another thing that you talked about, bill to pay to reconcile. I don't know if we kind of covered a little bit of that, but if I'm understanding you right, this is a means for the company to reconcile their billing and their payments easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So after the bill is submitted, now you've made the payment. Now what? We have to reconcile that information, right? So we work with any ERP that's available. We are ERP agnostic. We have 3 pre-built integrations with NetSuite, QuickBooks Online, and Sage Intacct. The rest of our integrations are file integrations that you can easily manipulate the data if needed. Most of it is already pre-built, so you don't have to manipulate the data yourself, and it's just an easy integration in.
Pretty darn cool. Okay, so what you're telling me is I could grow my business. I could increase my payables without increasing my staff. I could make my payments to my vendors more efficient, keep them tax compliant, and at the end of the day, integrate it into my ERP system for my accounting, and see exactly what I've done, who I've paid, when the money's going, and I can do this all over the world.
Exactly.
100 and something countries.
Yeah, exactly. 196 countries to be exact. And then it brings the question up of potential fraud. What's my risk, right? So we're constantly monitoring the vendors and suppliers from the time they get onboarded. So they go through an OFAC check. We make sure that they are who they say they are. If they fat finger any of their information, we're also protecting the vendor and supplier to make sure that they're putting in the right payment details so that they are getting paid on time. And this also strengthens the relationship between the vendor and your client or yourself when you're making those payments. And when you make those payments, now you have better visibility, you have better relationships with your vendors. Now they start maybe offering you discounts. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but a discount could be nice. If you have the ability to pay early, you'll be able to do that through the Tipalti system.
Very cool. And these funds, are they coming right out of my bank account? How does that work?
Yes, so Tipalti is a licensed money transmitter. We're riding the rails of a few major banks throughout the United States and the world, where we open up what's called a for benefit of or FBO account on your behalf. We either pull the funds out of your business checking or you wire or ACH the money into your Tipalti FBO account and then schedule the payment. We'll make the payment on your behalf and say you have the 50 payments that need to be made, 40 are in ACH, 5 are in check, and the rest are in wire. It'll all go out in that one payment batch from us.
But I now lose my check float process. So really, this is a lousy program because I was banking on those 3 days that the check was in the mail. I was hoping the post office loses it. But on the flip side, in reality, is I fund the bill, I fund the payment. So yes, the payments, they're funded immediately. The answer to that is I no longer have to send the check 7 days in advance and hope that the post office gets it there on time.
Correct.
If the due date is the 25th, was that today? Hey, if the due date's the 25th, I make the payment on the 25th. So now I've got a great means of managing my cash flow because I know exactly what I'm going to pay. And you're going to tell me that when I look at my Tipalti system and I say I have these bills approved and set to be paid on this day, that I'm going to be able to know exactly how much money I'm paying today, tomorrow, and each day next week.
Exactly.
I love it. If automated payables saves people so much time and so much money and eliminates errors, why isn't everybody doing it?
It's a fantastic question. Most reasons are people don't know that there's tools out there to help them, or they're just so bogged down in their processes that they don't have time to do all the research of trying to find a solution like a Tipalti. So that's when they rely on organizations like CAS Worldwide to help them find solutions like Tipalti and give them the best tools forward to better their businesses, to help them save time, to reduce errors, to make them more efficient.
I couldn't have said that better myself. My name is Jamie Austin, and thank you for listening to a podcast by CAS Worldwide with today's guest, Chris Paolucci of Tipalti Automated Payables.